It's your boy John and Liquidator coming back with another video. So it looked like one Browns insider is pretty much confirming another quarterback is headed to Cleveland. Just a matter of time. When? Y'all, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to Cleveland. Let's get it. Let's go. And we got to jump right into this thing, man. There is large reports. We've been covering it all that there is going to be some moving and shaking in the Browns quarterback room. Now, with that being said, we know that they have star quarterback Shedeur Sanders on the squad, bruh. Shedeur is, to me, projected to be the starter. It's his job to lose. And for whatever reason, they want to make this a big competition. Now, one of the big growing things have been the fly on the wall, and that is DILLON Gabriel. What is going to happen with good old DILLON boy? Well, we got the secret sauce herself, Mary Kay, speaking about DILLON Gabriel and what she thinks is about to go down. I want to share some of this here with you guys. Let's roll.
It's hard to say. If they do add a veteran, I think it would be a younger guy that will have some upside potential and could do something for them down the road. And if they do something like that, and I wrote this in one of my stories recently, that, you know, if they bring in another guy, then I think they would be open to trading DILLON Gabriel. So, you know, I think that's something to watch for over the next week. If they can get something for DILLON, you know, maybe they've seen enough of him, and, you know, maybe Todd Monken has seen enough of him and, you know, what his scheme would be for a guy like that to maybe, you know, that they would consider moving him. In that scenario, then you maybe go out and find another developmental guy. Maybe you draft, you know, a Drew Eller or a Cade Klubnik or whatever, somebody from a later round in this draft. It's hard to say. If they do add a veteran, I think it would be a younger guy.
These are major reports coming out that, yes, DILLON Gabriel was about to kick rocks, bro, because we know how the Browns get down. They went into the season with 4 quarterbacks last year, and it looked like they ain't scared of getting 2 new ones. And if that is the case, DILLON Gabriel, see you, player. Let's listen.
Hey, we all know Titus Howard was already traded for by Andrew Berry, and it got me to thinking, how aggressive is Andrew Berry going to be in the trade market as we kick this new league year off? What do you think?
I think he'll seek to make a couple of trades. He loves to wheel and deal, and I'm sure he's working the phones right now. I'm sure he did that all throughout the combine, talking to as many other GMs as he possibly could, trying to come up with deals for the Cleveland Browns. When you're dealing with having to completely rebuild an offensive line and bolster the offense, you have to go about it in multiple ways. So I would think that he's looking into various different kinds of trades, including trading back from number 6. So I wouldn't be surprised if he strikes a deal or two over the next week.
Mary Kay, Earl mentioned the Max Crosby deal that came down last night. First of all, what was your initial reaction to seeing that, another elite pass rush coming?
Now, many people was insinuating this Matt Crosby trade could somehow throw things off in Cleveland for us them rebuilding their offensive line. We don't know what the game plan was for them moving forward with rebuilding their offensive line, but a lot of people in the NFL circles is saying that Matt Crosby trade might have just stone-railed any offensive plan they had moving forward, bruh. I just got
to the AFC North, and what do you think was kind of going through Andrew Berry's head and the Browns' head as they saw that move be made?
Well, I think they are so committed to Myles Garrett that I don't think first-round picks flashed through their eyes. I just don't think that is happening for them right now. I think that Myles is here for good, I'm sure, and I'm sure that's what Andrew Berry wants. And it seems like that's what Myles wants now. We haven't really talked to him since the end of the season, but it seems like he's all in as well. So I don't think they were sitting there thinking, geez, if you can get that for Max Crosby, what can we get for Myles? I just don't think that they were, thinking along those lines. But once again, you never know. I mean, I highly doubt that they would even field a call of that nature. But, who knows? Maybe they would at least listen just to hear what somebody might have to say.
Mary Kay, if you ask me, I think that type of talk is just good for group chats among your friends. Because as soon as the trade happened yesterday, a bunch of my friends in my group chat was like, yo, how many draft picks you think we can get for Myles Garrett? I said, man, cut it out. Please cut it out. So before you came on, me and Spencer were talking about, you gain talent 3 different ways: via trade, via free agency, and via the draft. Right. And we have a nice, pretty resume of work from Andrew Berry about what his strengths are or what his weaknesses are, at least from our point of view. And we talked about, he struggled drafting offensive linemen. He struggled drafting wide receivers. Just maybe he can trade for a wide receiver, sign veteran offensive linemen, and put himself in a position to take the best player available, like a guy on the defensive side of the ball. Can you see in that being at least one of the strategies or one of the plans that Andrew Berry has as we kind of get to that point?
Well, Andrew likes to go into the draft not having to draft any particular position. Now, this year, the draft just so happens to match up with the Browns' needs. It's very strong in offensive tackles and offensive linemen, and it's very strong in wide receivers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with a wide receiver and an offensive lineman, or 2 of receivers and 2 offensive linemen in the first 5 picks or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised by that, but I also would not be surprised if he throws everyone a curveball and goes with an excellent defensive player high, because that's how they approach the draft. And sometimes when we think he's going to zig, he zags, and it works out pretty well usually, like with Carson Schwarzenegger last year. So I think people should be ready for anything, although I do think it will skew towards the offensive side in the early going of the draft.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. Mary Kay, obviously it's up to him as we're talking about the offensive line. I think this is a good time to ask this. And we don't necessarily have the full picture of where his head's at this point, but what does your gut tell you about Joel Bitonio's future as we know that deadline's coming up here on Tuesday?
I'm not really sure. I really don't know. I wish I could say. I guess it feels to me like.
You know what these tight ends are so relaxed about? Prostate cancer screenings. They've learned there's a simple, finger-free blood test. Find out if a PSA blood test is right for you at Relax. It's a bloodtest.com.
Maybe he's not coming back just based on his reaction when we talked to him about retiring at the end of the season, and he came to tears. That leads me to believe that he knew, that this was probably going to be his last season. But sometimes when you put a little space between the end of the season and then your body starts to feel good again, and the new coach comes in and you see some possibilities, maybe you change your mind a little bit. But we'll have to see, and I'm sure we'll hear something sooner than later.
Mary Kay, when you look at, free agency, legal tampering period is about to open up, are there any guys that you've heard that's linked to the Cleveland Browns or the Browns might be interested in that's outside of the quarterback position when it comes to free agents?
Honestly, no. They are playing it so close to the vest that I haven't heard anything. And I will be making a lot of phone calls this weekend because sometimes you want to wait until the tags are all done. You want to wait until the trades are kind of underway. You want to see who's getting tendered and all that kind of stuff. So once all that stuff is taken care of for the most part, then you can kind of dig in and see who's left about to hit the market. So I don't really know right now, but I would be looking at receivers and offensive linemen and just kind of having my thoughts and calls put there.
Mary Kay, Andrew Berry mentioned at the Combine that they probably will be less active in terms of their pre-draft work they'll do on this quarterback class, just based off the class itself, but also where they're drafting this year. I know you've written and talked about this already. We know they've expressed at least some interest in Ty Simpson, and everyone's been talking about that lately. And obviously they had him in for a top 30 visit this week. But how motivated do you think the Browns will be to add a quarterback through that method, through the draft this offseason?
Well, I think they will look at them all very closely, and they will continue to do their diligence. But I think that if they draft a quarterback this year, it will be more of a developmental guy and not somebody that is designed to come in here and take the place of Shedeur Sanders. I think they're really excited about Shedeur.
Especially,
They've told us that they're excited.
she just admitted Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback. I need not see no more. Y'all get down in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts about this. Got to pay attention to these people, man, and listen real good when they be talking. Till next time, man, shake the haters off. I'm out here, bro.